The stock market is a roller coaster of highs and lows, and it's not always easy to know how it affects us here in Arkansas. Chris Harkins, Senior Vice President and Managing Director with Delta Trust Investments, joins us now. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for coming in. You know, it's true. This
here.
can be confusing. It really can be. So
Absolutely.
You're shedding some light on this morning for us.
Trying to, yes.
Helping us out. Now, the Dow recently hit an all-time high by finishing above 15,000. So what do you think is contributing to this high?
Well, you know, the market's moving up because of some very strong fundamentals, and that's what typically drives the stock market, and that's where we are right now.
Should we be a little weary, though, of the market's recent highs? We mentioned that roller coaster.
Yeah, you know, the market hit a new high, and the question I get a lot of the times is just because a market hits a certain high, does that mean it's time to sell? So there's really a disconnect between a stock or a market index hitting a high and whether it's to taking a look at its value. So just because something hits a high, for example, let's say 2-3 decades ago we bought Walmart stock and it went from 10 to 20, a new high. If you sold just because it hit a new high, you would have kicked yourself today because it's doubled several times since then. So I'm not so much concerned about the price of a stock. I'm looking at the value of the stock based on underlying fundamentals.
Okay, and also probably important too, don't just rush into it.
Absolutely.
Take the time to make that an important decision.
Always.
Now, do you think the market is reflecting a more stable U.S. economy?
Yeah, you know, there's a real disconnect for some as to why this is happening. When the stock market goes up or down, I'm not necessarily overjoyed or nervous. I want to know why it's happening. There's some clear reasons why the market's up right now. Strong fundamentals. Number one, you have earnings. Corporate earnings have been phenomenal. You have interest rates very low. You have the deficit, which a lot of folks are worried about, understandably. The budget deficit has dropped by 30% in the last 2 years. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
The housing market's coming back. That is huge. It touches everyone. And when your value of your home goes up, people start feeling better about things. They tend to spend a little bit more. And the unemployment numbers are getting better, a little bit slow, but one thing to keep in mind is employment is one of the last things that come around. When all these other things stack up, then employees tend to hire and then employment numbers drop, and we're seeing that, but that's typically the last thing that happens.
Okay, we're talking national. Let's bring it back local, Chris. How are Arkansas stocks performing?
Fantastic. There are about a little bit over a dozen publicly traded stocks that are based in Arkansas. Almost all of them are at a 52-week high or near their 52-week high. The banks are doing extremely well in our state. Trucking companies doing extremely well. And our retail stocks, Walmart and Dillard's, are at or near their 52-week high. So really that's a reflection of what's happening around the country. We're seeing here in Arkansas with many of our local stocks are trading right at their 52-week high. So clearly our local companies are mirroring what's happening in the market.
Good news there.
Big news for revenue, for employment, and you know, a lot of people like to own stocks in their own state. Fortunately, it's been great on that stance as well.
Able to do that here. Now, not all types of investments apply to all investors. So what types of investors do you work with, and what are you telling them right now?
I know it's kind of corny and sometimes overused, but you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So what we do is we sit down with our clients, and based on their objective and risk tolerance, at that point we decide, and it's pretty clear to us that these are the type of things we want to invest in, whether it's stocks or bonds or a combination. So the key is to know who you're working with, knowing your own tolerance, keep an eye on what you're doing. But what I'm saying to my clients that are interested in the stock market and want to grow, stay with the market, watch for pitfalls and opportunities, and as things change, whether it's the market or the person I'm working with, then we'll change accordingly.
All right, your advice from the experts this morning. Chris Harkins with Delta Trust Investments. More information at deltatrust.com.